Senator Warren, we really appreciate you taking time to join us tonight. I know it's been a very long day.
It's good to be here with you, though.
So you told me when it started to seem like this impeachment trial might be convening sometime during the campaign, you told me that you had no qualms whatsoever. There was no question. There was no looking back, that you would obviously be there and you'd do your constitutional duty, and that you didn't much mind what effect it might have on the campaign. How does it feel now that you're actually living through it?
Well, as I said to you back then, some things are bigger than politics, and this is one of them. This is about the impeachment of a sitting president of the United States. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. No one is above the law, and this is our chance to talk about that and to have this trial. But I have to say, it's turned out somewhat differently from the way I thought, and that is how blessed I am with people all across Iowa, all across New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada and all across this country who have said, let us help out. So people across the country have gone to ElizabethWarren.com and they've volunteered and they've said, we can help do some calling, or they've pitched in $5, or people have come in to do door knocking. People are picking it up. Julian and Joaquin Castro are out for me right now in Iowa. I have other surrogates who are coming in. You know, this is part of what it means when you build a grassroots movement. And that it's not just scooping up money and running TV ads. It's all that time spent out there fighting the fight together. And so now I'm pinned down here in Washington, and this is where I have to be and should be. But lots of other people are saying we're still in the fight. We'll carry it forward. We're still out there to talk about a government that doesn't just work for a thin slice at the top, but a government that works for all of us. And it's really a pretty amazing thing to be part of.
Well, Senator, these days are long. Today was not quite as long as yesterday was, but we know there's going to be long days ahead. I wanted to ask you, given the themes of your campaign and given the way the impeachment is unfolding and its unpredictable nature and some of the surprises that we've seen already, do you think there is any possibility that this impeachment ultimately can be less divisive for the country and more unifying for the country? Everybody thinks this is just going to make everything worse in terms of Democrats and Republicans hating each other and not being able to see the same set of facts with the same set of eyes. Is there any prospect that this process could actually be beneficial to that sort of divide in the country?
I think that we're seeing something different unfold. You know, I sat there today and listened to this long series of speeches, and they were terrific. Our House folks who are managing this were just terrific. But lots of details, lots of moving parties and so on. But at its heart, really a pretty simple claim. And that is, the President of the United States treated government like, hey, something that's just there to help him and his buddies. Oh, and one of the central actors is this guy who bought an ambassadorship for $1 million and then spent a big part of his time out there trying to do what the president wanted him to do, to squeeze Ukraine, to throw some dirt on Donald Trump's political rivals. What really comes through as you hear that is just the corruption. Just corruption. There's no other word for it. And it's not just specific to Donald Trump. It's this notion right now of this whole administration. How, hey, it's all about what helps Donald Trump personally, what helps his business, what helps him politically, what helps his friends, how they make money, how they buy and sell in our government, in the things that we do together.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.